Good morning, everybody. It's Marty the JavaScript Party here. It is Tuesday, the 23rd of June, and I am trying to get my unit tests back up to 100%. I'm wondering, I'm right after I'm done with sort of this sort of round of work, I'm going to update to Angular 22 on this project, and they are definitely leaning harder against Jasmine Karma. So and they have a migration tool that will migrate you to the new VITE VIT, I don't know what it's called, but into that new thing. I don't intend to do that. Um, and I had sort of, I guess, a big reason why I got unit tests going was because I've had to do it in so many of my jobs, and I just had like sort of a lot of unanswered questions, I guess. But my favorite, absolute favorite thing about them though has been this. Like, I wrote this code. We were just like trying to figure something out, and ended up writing this code. And then this code is I got it from ChatGPT, and I do not understand what this code does. Let's see if anything changed. Nope. So oh, it's not done making the report though. Um, so anyways, that's the sort of the my favorite part about. There's a lot of benefits to unit test for sure, but probably my favorite benefit is just a great time to set aside to just like do a deep dive into the code and make sure that everything makes sense on a on a um, line by line basis, as opposed to like from an architecture 3,000 10,000 foot, understanding how everything fits together. Understanding how everything fits together is also like a line by line thing. I don't know of a good thing that. It would be nice if there was some sort of scheme where it was a lot easier to sort of visualize things through the lens of like architecture. Right now, it's like end to end is sort of the Cypress test sort of let me sort of test it in the way that an end user would use it, and unit tests sort of get me down to the line by line level, but nothing is really um, makes me think on an architectural level. I would imagine I could have used Jasmine Karma for that too, to write some sort of tests, that integration type tests or something like that. But I don't know. But anyway, so I need to go through and try to understand this line of code better. And this is inside of app layout service.ts. So I'm just gonna like go there. The easiest way to do that is to hit Control P and then put the name that you're looking for. And then click on this up here. And then what I'm going to do, just because it's a bit out, everything's a bit out of a little crazy right now on my UI. And that's kind of how I generally will reset. Now, this is the code that is to me very confusing. And basically what this code does is it sets up the renderer ID subscription. This is our update layout service. So it basically looks on the route, and anytime it sets up basically what it's doing is it's setting up a subscription. Okay, so looks like we have a thing called router events, and router events, it looks like returns is an observable. It returns an observable, so you can subscribe to it. But instead of just subscribing to it straight out, what we're doing is we are piping it. And piping is like a very generic word. I think piping is basically like um, running an operation, executing an operation on it, something like that is probably is probably what it, another way of saying it. So piping, now that I think about it, is pretty good, because it's like, okay, I'm going to direct it. I'm taking this big bunch of events and I'm directing it, and then I'm going to run a filter on it, and that filter is going to return true if it's an instance of navigation end, but it's going to return false if it's not. And if it returns a true, then it will be left in, but if not, it's going to be removed. And that's what pipe filter does. And then whatever is left, we're going to make another observable from that. That's what the output of this will be, is create another observable. And then that will will subscribe to. And then anytime that happens, we are going to execute this thing with the router. We're going to give it the router when we do that. So that is how that works. And I can't, so I want to rewrite this in a way where I don't have to stop everything and mentally sort of digest that to figure out what happens here. And one of the ways you could do that is just like give it a function name, right? So basically, we could name this setup edit render ID subscription. And I guess what I normally will do is let's send it the router. Router. I always say, hey, there's these layers that I do. One first is make sure that they all that they can run, they can all compile. Then once you're doing that, make sure that they're all passing. Once you do that, make sure you have coverage. But really, there's a third thing is make sure that all the code makes sense. And will be easy to digest in the future. So I'm breaking this down. I'm basically pre-digesting this code, I guess, so that the future me can have an easier time. So I'm going to return a Boolean from this thing. Basically, this thing is kind of like a decorator more than anything else. Return true. It kind of just does some stuff. You give it the router, and it just does some stuff. So I don't know what you kind of call. It's like almost a pure side effect function. Um, but now I'm just going to take all of this code. I'm just going to move it down here. So I think like having something just in the constructor is the constructor such a generic place that like it does take some cognitive load to go, oh, okay, in the constructor there's some code happening. Let me see what that is, right? Like um, but I can save myself by saying this dot setup this dot router, right? I can now it's very clear that in what this constructor is running one function. We know that. So that means in the future, if I was like, oh, do I have an effect in here or something like that? Um, oh, this is a perfect example. So of something. All right. So like I'll be like, I would be like, oh, is it like if I come in here, I'm trying to figure out what's going up, come up to see it, I see, oh, in the constructor, I have a single function, and it's to set up the renderer ID subscription. Okay, that's all this thing does. Now, what it actually does, I don't know, but I don't know. But interestingly enough, if I have the code that sets this up in here, then um, it can figure out that this without that. Otherwise, I have to tell it that it's going to be set. And I can't remember where you put the exclamation mark. So I'm telling it, don't worry, it gets set up in the constructor. I know you can't quite, it isn't quite obvious, but we set it up just here. Now, alternatively, I could return the subscription, um, and set it up in the constructor, and then I wouldn't have to do this exclamation mark, but I have to. And that's just basically saying, hey, don't worry about it. It's going to get set up. Uh, just because you can't it's not obvious. You just have to take my word for it. Now, interestingly enough, Okay, so I think since I'm passing the router in, I could just go like that, router. And that should make my life a little easier. All right, so I think it's very clear when we look in here that we're setting up the renderer subscription. I think we do kind of need to do a quick double check that we didn't inadvertently break something. So basically what needs to happen is this, cross your fingers, this back here, update. Okay, so that's good. So that worked. I could have seen why it wouldn't have worked, but I've seen weirder things, that's for sure. All right, so now let's break this down line by line. This router events. So basically, this router events is going to returns a subscription, an observable of type event. So let's try that. Events observable. I don't know. I'm kind of just making. I don't know if this is the right thing to do. But I do like. This is the point. Events. Let's just do this. Let's do it this way, actually. Equals this, and then that's all this thing is supposed to return. And honestly, I'm just like, but apparently it doesn't return anything. Like this in itself is just a property. So it's supposed to be observable event property. So let's just try that. I've never tried this before. Well, let's just do this. Colon. I have no idea what just happened. Okay, let's try this again. Okay, so this had this, and I move my mouse straight up, and then I hit this little copy thing. Then I try to paste it. For some reason, it does. Oh, it copied everything. Control V. But all I wanted was this. And this. And I don't quite understand why. Cannot find the name observable. So it's saying that it doesn't know what observable is. I know this comes from ArcsJS, so. Oh, I need to give it like a const. All right. It's so weird that it always says that, hey, you used this, but you never used it. It's declared, but it's never read. And it gave me a blue. What's giving me this? What is this? Remove unused declaration for now. Okay, so this is what I would like it to be. Okay, so now what's its problem? So I don't know. Maybe I need to grab all of this. Maybe this is one of those things where it's just like a lot of times I'll do like assignments and I just move on. It's like, oh, okay, that worked. This is one of those times where it's not working, and then oh, where it's not working the way I think it would in my brain. And this is probably way more valuable than those other times because obviously it doesn't work the way I thought it worked. So can I just do this? Router. Can I just do this, I wonder? And then if I move this over here, can I do this? And that still works. And now my trick that I will normally do is I'll make this like a string. And then it'll complain and it'll say, you can't make that a string because it's this observable event, which I could have sworn I tried that a second ago. So that's so weird. Like it's telling me that I can't. And then when I copy that exact thing, God, you're a pain in the butt. Observable. Ending. Okay, so it's happy with that. Am I bringing event in? Event should come from router, right? So it's any kind of event, though. But I think the problem is it probably doesn't know which event it is. Yeah, it's this event. There we go. So now if we look up here, yeah, we see that we have import event from router. So I think the problem was before it was getting an event from somewhere else. And it was like, that's not that kind of event. And I was like, I didn't say it was that kind of event. And it was like, yes, you did. All right. So now we want our filtered events. And that is equal to events observable. And I'm very, oh, equals dot pipe. And we're putting this filter in here. So anytime I can take sort of like a sort of stream of consciousness sort of thing, which is what I kind of see this, and turn it into a ordered step of set of instructions, I will do that almost every time. So now theoretically I can do this. Okay, we should make sure what we have works though now. Actually curious. I think it still makes it a. Okay, so it still seems to be working. Now, this should not even affect this at all. Okay, yeah. All right, now we want to see if we can just use our filtered events. See, to me, I would rather take these small, and this is observable navigation end. Event should still work because it's because navigation end is one of the events, so that's still good. But okay, so now we have our filtered events. Control V. And again, the only reason I'm doing this is so more than anything else, so that like in the future when I'm trying to figure out, and I think I should call this filter. I should call this router events, and then change this to router events. And then nav and events navigation. I feel like it's so going to be so much easier. It's going to be so much easier to sort of come up to speed in the future. Be able to just read these like this as okay, I'm creating a router events observable, and then I'm creating a navigation end events observable. And like one of my very top things is to always, 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 always try to say what it is at the end at all. Um, I mean, I won't, many times I'll do it even for integers and strings and all that. All right, so I am out of time, but tomorrow, yeah, we'll continue down this path. Looks like maybe I want to, I don't know exactly what's the best way to sort. I feel like maybe this is good enough. I'm saying, hey, navigation events observable, subscribe to that, and then um, run, publish, edit, update anytime you want, anytime that happens. And then that's when it becomes a signal. And I believe there's like a two signal function I could use to do the same exact thing, probably from this, like two signal. I might actually do that. That might actually make sense. Um, but maybe not. Two signal and maybe even assign it. I don't know though, because I think publish update events does other things. Yeah, it does splitting and stuff, so that's not going to work. All right. Anyways, happy coding, everybody. Bye.